The City UK today has carved out a vital position as the only cross-sectoral, national, politically neutral, strategic body uniting the whole of the financial and related professional services. The seniority of its membership offers policymakers the clearest insight into the issues that affect the sector and how the sector can help this country. Thinking back 4 years, I'm sure you will agree that the environment in which we operated then was very different. The reputation of parts of our sector was at an all-time low, and despite some improvements, is still near the bottom on any comparative scale. Rightly, policymakers and regulators want now to put in place rules and regulations that will ensure the stability of the system at a global, regional, and national level. We all want to make sure global issues such as too big to fail are addressed, while more locally we want to see action taken to help firms access finance. And it is here that I think the City UK has provided a distinctive voice. We were leaders in the public discourse, demonstrating the need to move to an agenda that focused on economic growth and job creation, not at the expense of regulatory stability, but by striking a better balance between the two. Our report on SME finance is often cited as an example of our work which has led to better policy making. Other speakers this evening will talk more about the value of our relationship with the EU, but let me simply reiterate the point I made in my Evening Standard column last month. It makes no sense to leave one of our key trade and investment relationships, the one that anchors us in Europe, in the same way that New York's status as a global financial center is in large part determined by its location in the US, so London, a truly global financial center, together with the other centers outside the city, benefits from being Europe's financial center.
Our success in global markets, old and new, will go a long way to creating jobs, growth and prosperity at home. But it will do more than that. It is part of our recognition that we must work with these financial centres rather than thinking we're going to take business from them. This is why the City of London and the City UK are working closely with emerging financial centres to develop their markets and expertise, cities as diverse as Moscow, Istanbul and Casablanca. In supporting their development, we will contribute to their success in the wider economy, and that will increase global trade volumes. This is an approach defined by partnership, and that too is what the City Corporation and the City UK are about, especially through our International Regulatory Strategy Group, working together to get the right regulatory balance and working together to shape the future of Europe, so that European regulation does not inhibit our global competitiveness and ability to serve the wider economy, and seeking the completion of the single market in particular, especially in financial services. Ladies and gentlemen, the City of London and the financial services industry have been asked some difficult questions in recent years, some fair, some less so. And the most difficult questions have been asked by the city of the city. The City of London is a hugely different place to the city before the financial crisis, as we have answered those questions. And the excellent work by the City Corporation, by everyone here, and by the City UK are important parts of our answer to those questions.
The work which you've been doing in City UK, I think really outstandingly good work around small, medium-sized company financing, the work on private placements, the report you've just published on what's happening to the big picture of SME finance. And this matters because it is absolutely central to the recovery of the British economy. Most employment in this country comes through small, medium-sized companies. The real growth drivers are what the CBI calls the gazelle companies. But to summarise, I think my outlook is an optimistic one. I think there is a recognition here in the city, and it's reflected in these excellent reports, about the potential for creating a much more diverse, satisfactory business financing system in the UK. I think we in government are on the same page, and we want to work with you and support what we need in order to get this economy of ours back on track.
I think the TheCityUK is the only organisation that brings together the rich tapestry of firms and individuals that makes the city such a vibrant force, not just in London, but around the UK and internationally. Our sister bodies, the expert trade associations, many of those too here tonight, do an essential job in, for example, scrutinising emerging legislation and regulation to make sure that the detailed sectoral considerations are taken fully into account. It's our role at TCUK to embrace that input and then to try to make sure that the total is greater than the sum of its parts. To make sure that the city practitioner voice and our wider sector voice is heard loudly and clearly in the UK, the EU, and in the international arena, and that our competitiveness is maintained in a world where it is constantly challenged, and that challenge can only get worse. Our key task is to help create the right conditions to drive economic growth in the UK by ensuring that in financial and professional services, this country is and remains the best place in the world in which and from which to do business. But I'm very pleased to be able to report that our reputation has started to recover in the eyes of the public. The TheCityUK has played its part in this rehabilitation process, but of course, the emphasis now has to rest with individual firms, and in particular, the behaviour that they exhibit to their customers and to wider society. As one of the longest-serving financial services chairmen in the UK, I'm acutely aware of the responsibilities working with our CEOs and our boards, which I and my fellow chairmen and our senior partners have. I talked in my speech this time last year about the need for all of us to do the right thing. And the feedback that I had afterwards showed that this struck a real chord. Now, I know that in our hearts, we all know what doing the right thing means. And if a few individuals and firms don't live up to it, frankly, they deserve what's coming to them. I really believe that successful businesses all have a moral dimension in their activities. But particularly in financial services, our ethical responsibilities go considerably beyond the mere pursuit of shareholder value, critical though that is. And we have to recognise this in the way that we construct our agenda and priorities. I now want to talk about Europe, a subject so traditionally divisive that even to discuss it carries with it the risk of being branded as a fanatic. But in part led by the Prime Minister's excellent speech earlier this year, decisions will be taken both here and on the continent in the years ahead that will determine not just the relationship between Britain and the rest of Europe, but for us here tonight, critically, London's position as the world's leading financial centre. To put my cards firmly on the table, I do not believe that the city's preeminent position will survive if we lose our role as Europe's financial capital. And I do not believe we can maintain that position if we are not part of the single market. There is a risk that the uncertainty presently surrounding Britain's membership could cast a shadow over firms' investment decisions, which risks jobs and growth not coming to the UK. And it was research by the TheCityUK that found ease of access to the single market was the leading sole decision for firms to invest in the UK. But like it or not, we have to recognise that uncertainty is there anyway. And it's progress towards the reformed Europe that we all want to see that will eliminate that uncertainty. The single market will always encompass some countries that are in the Eurozone and some that are not. And as the Eurozone looks to banking and fiscal union, a process, as I have said, that we support, the UK must remain engaged with and effective in that process. We need to work with like-minded states, those who share our vision and values, practitioners across Europe, to make sure the single market delivers its full potential, not just for the UK's advantage, but for the benefit of the whole of Europe.